Welcome to Rauta's Indie 5. Once again, 5 different bands, 5 different releases, pretty much 5 different styles as well. Going in more or less alphabetical order, a little bit of twist because I might be listening to some of these in different order. Let's first go to Finland with a band called Langenneet. Roughly could be translated as the Fallen Ones. This is Kuilun varjoissa, in the shadows of a chasm. This was previously released in tape format and now it's on CD, early 2022. And this is released by a Finnish label, Misanthropia Records. This one is full-length album in very Finnish black metal fashion. That is nothing out of ordinary here is happening, but pretty much what would you would expect from a Finnish black metal band. Very minimal in nature when it comes to the packaging, that is. The music is a little bit more varied than that. But yeah, let's not get overboard with the style because mostly this is material which you probably kind of can figure out even without listening to the band. You will hear certain kind of a Finnish melodic sense, atmospheric parts, and very Finnish songwriting when it comes to the whole album. Well, here is interesting information. This is written in 2019-2020, so it's a little bit late to the game in terms of CD version, but better late than never. Now, the music is indeed very Finnish sounding, and if you've been listening to any kind of a Finnish band since 2000, you might pretty much know what to expect from this kind of music. Nothing out of ordinary, but pretty decent and interesting to listen to. If you're into big fan of Finnish black metal, then you should be checking this out, but don't expect anything out of ordinary and you're pretty much good to go. Everything is pretty much like basic standard of Finnish black metal, and that's pretty much of it. Then we have a old school death metal band from Poland. This is Murtuz Caliber, and this one seems to be a certain kind of a side project, or at least that's the feeling I'm getting out of it. This is very short an album featuring one cover track, and yes, indeed, this is like going back some 30 years or maybe even more. There is a statement for you, and as you can figure out from the cover and everything, this is indeed kind of like a retro death metal. Cemetery, Debauchery. And this is dark and very simple riffs, kind of a typical old school death metal sound with buzzing guitars and all that stuff. So once again, nothing is exactly original here. Okay, it seems like this cardboardish booklet is a little bit stuck here. It's very easy to listen to and enjoy if you like old school death metal. But let's be honest about it. This is very much like a typical debut album back in the days, late 80s or early 90s. It's something that you've heard a million times. So if someone was playing this and asking like from which year this is, I would say maybe 1989 or 1992 or something like that. Pretty okay, but nothing fancy. Nothing is too catchy, so it's kind of a lukewarm experience. Then we have a Finnish band called Riivaus, roughly like Possession, and this one is Hehkumaton. How to translate it? It would be like unglowing. I don't know. This one is one of those side projects from a Finnish black metal scene, but this is a solo project. And this artist in question has a lot of different bands, and they're more or less, well, Finnish black metal. So I don't know what's the meaning or need for this kind of a side project. Once again, because first of all, this guitar player has, in my opinion, better bands out there. But then again, the debut album by Riivaus a few years ago was actually pretty good. This one, unfortunately, isn't as good, but it's once again pretty much like a typical Finnish black metal. I mean, the melodies, the kind of a raw, grim sound and songwriting, and the overall feeling is just so goddamn Finnish. But if you would just play this to me blindly and ask me what this band is, I don't know, there would be way too many bands I could be guessing because this is in fact something that you might have heard a million times before. But let's not use that argument against this particular band or release because this is in fact very listenable. Just maybe a little bit too forgettable. Apart from the screamer vocals which are not the typical raspy ones. I mean, they're not like Danny Filthy's on vocals, but they're more screamier and high-pitched than your typical black metal one. But this one is pretty goddamn decent. So compared to Langenneet, these are basically from the same stone, carved that is, but this is a little bit better. So definitely something to give your ears for, if that makes sense. The last but not least are two other bands which are kind of a trasher in old school ways. This one is very fresh from the oven from Finland. This one is Tormented Tyrant, and it's a 17 minutes debut MCD. This is very much something that could be described as side project because all of these guys, 3 of them, are known for various bands. The drummer is mostly known for his work in Cataleptic. Same goes for the other guy doing guitars and whatever. And also known for his work in Salathis. And then there's this one guy from bands such as Corpsest, among other projects. So these guys have more or less doomier and death metallic parts. Here 3 handsome guys. And all of them are more or less very experienced players in the Finnish metal scene. But this seems like a little bit of a side project, some kind of a therapy session project, which is now on, CD format. Previously, the band has released a couple of singles, but this is the first real deal. The stuff here is something that would be described as old school death metal or just retro death. And it's much like a homemade recording sound, which I really can't say it's good. I mean, the drums sound kind of clanky and too much on the foreground, whereas the guitars kind of lack power and all. The vocals then again are pretty basic, growly vocals, can't really, bitch about them. Everything is on that respect quite lukewarm, mediocre, even demo-ish. But when it's come to the actual music, that has ups and downs. There are lots of parts which just feel like being fillers, filling the gaps and all. But then there are parts which are really good. So this is kind of a hard cookie. I kind of like it, and I kind of feel it's, more on the lukewarm, mediocrity side. Overall, this 17 minutes goes on the plus side, definitely, because there are so many good parts which kind of justify, the filler parts. But I can't get over that production which just feels kind of lame and weak, and I hope these guys will fix it, because they have the skill, they have the ability to do that. I don't know how they ended up sounding with this kind of production, but who knows, who cares. Let's hope that these guys will keep this one going beyond this MCD, and it's definitely worth giving another shot back then. Then the last, and also definitely not least, comes from Spain, and this is modern thrash metal by a band known Violblast. Kind of a weird wordplay, if you ask me. This one is the 3rd album called Lazarus Abandoned. Previously, the band has been on a couple of labels, so I don't know what made them to go for self-financed version. This is actually CDR. Looks otherwise totally properly done and all that stuff. And the style is indeed kind of a modern thrash. Even some parts kind of remind me of Fear Factory and stuff like that, but no way, this is not industrial. And this is not a crossover by any means. It's not like it's death metallic or, anything that sort. It's thrash metal, but more on the modern side than, going back to 1980s. Overall, this sounds quite powerful. Their vocals are more like kind of a shouting, growling, grunting kind of a combo, which then again might have a little bit of a death thrash vibe to it. But overall, this is pretty groovy stuff, well made and all that stuff. Now the only downside is there are not too many parts that kind of stick into your brain. I mean, technically speaking, this sounds powerful and all that stuff, but it's missing those kind of hit songs. And when we're talking about hit songs in terms of thrash metal, I guess it goes without saying that a lot of those famous old school thrash metal bands actually did have a lot of those. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Slayer or Metallica or Anthrax or Megadeth or Sodom or Destruction of Creator or whatever. They have their hit songs, they still have them and still they'll make them. And Violblast, well, not so much. But this is a very potent case here. I think this has a lot of promise and could be really something bigger, like their counterparts in Spain, Angelus Apatrida. I don't know if Violblast will be that level of a band, but they have the tools. Now they just need to have those killer parts and they're ready to go. So, 5 different releases on this review video. Once again, depending on your taste and all, figure out which ones you want to check out. You will find the links provided in the description box. So click those bands which you think are your cup of tea and give them a fair listen, and then decide which ones are also worth your money. Either seeing on stage or, buying maybe the physical product. This is Rauta. See you with next video. Bye bye.